All right. Says we're live. Rob is already in the chat. Rob, thanks for tuning in, man. Hopefully you can hear me all right. See what Rob has to say here. What's good, guys? What's good? I had a great time at Bell County Comic Con, meeting you all again, learning new things. Thanks for Tunnel Hounds, Doug. No, thanks for coming out to Bell County Comic Con once again. Had a great time. So I always stress out before. I don't like flying very much. I know that it's statistically safe and all of that. Jean-Luc, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. But me and flying, I don't really like flying very much. So I get a little apprehensive when I got to fly across the country and connecting flights and all these sorts of, although actually on the way down, I got a direct flight this time. So that was cool. But yeah, so got there and was able to have a nice dinner with Eric Canetti in Austin. So that was cool. The past few years, we had a little bit of a tradition. And we went to this steakhouse and talked about iconic comics and talked about life, the universe, and everything, Douglas Adams style. And yeah, just had a great time. Saw Deadpool with Eric. A later showing, so that was cool. Then the next day, caught up with everybody. Tim, Mark, Scott, Bryce, Sven, all those guys. Got to meet the Sven of Butch Killigan, and he was a super chill guy. Flork was there again this year, so that was cool. And Father Patrick Redder from Puerto Rico, Solid Halon, was dressed up as Father Redder once again, so that was cool. He literally flew out, and he had an Eric Canetti inspired Soul Finder inspired rosary. I don't know if he had I think there was going to be a contest or something like that. Maybe somebody got it. I'm not sure. But anyway, it looked just like the rosary that Eric Canetti did for the banner, that the table covering that we have, and some prints that I have. So that was cool. Had somebody drive down 18 hours to see everybody. Dude drove in from South Dakota down to Texas. Another guy drove from Oklahoma. So then we had the Puerto Rico. Then we had somebody fly in from, I believe, Boston. So all over the place. People were coming from all over the country and U.S. territories and all of that. So yeah, it was really cool. So I figured I would kind of talk about that a little bit today. Talk about whatever you want to talk about that's going on in the chat. So Captain Cummings here. Brett is here. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Brett, I know you are a longtime Soul Finder reader, and you have done a great job in terms of spreading the word out there. I mean, everybody who's in the chat right now has done that. But Brett, thank you. I appreciate that. So actually, I could talk about that. Mr. X, another person who's quite prolific in terms of getting word out there about iconic comics. Everybody. So I appreciate that. We'll talk about Grok today. I saw it was trending or whatever, and I was like, let me try Grok out. Let me ask Grok what Mr. AI Grok thinks about iconic comics. What does Grok think about me? I had no idea. I don't know. Maybe you guys know. I don't know if it just pulls from Twitter feeds. I don't know if it's able to go outside to like Google search results. I don't know how far the reach of Grok is, or if it's completely contained within what is mentioned on X. I have no idea. So I was like, I want to experiment with this. I'm going to ask it about Timothy Lim. And let's see what Grok says and how accurate it is about iconic. And actually, it is, to me, rather scary. Wherever it's pulling from and how it's able to come up with fairly accurate assessments of things, or even things that I've thought about, and then do it in a humorous way and use different analogies and metaphors and things like that. So I don't even know where this is going to be in like a couple years, but I'm like, man, I should pay Grok to be my PR guy because this is very interesting. So yeah, I was like, I don't even know what it's going to come up with. It could have said something horrible about me, And but then I'd actually like to talk about that because it's like a very useful tool in that it's able to get this wide lens sort of picture of all of the information that's out there, and then it sort of like analyzes it and like parses it and breaks it down in ways that like I have feelings about what I think is going on with that iconic comics and what I think is possible. And then but then to have an AI kind of go out and pull all the things that are said about iconic and then like be like, hey, this is where AI thinks based upon what we are seeing people talk about in the totality of Twitter or X or whatever. This is what we think is possible. To see that and then be like, okay, wow, like maybe I wasn't as, because you don't, if you get too close to something, you can't see the big picture. So I don't know. I would like to experiment a bit more with Grok. Anyway, I could talk about that. And just the feed in general. I'm all over the map here. So I'm reading both. Let's see, Mr. X. To be honest, I'm not sure how Grok works, but its ability to sum things up is quite eye-opening. Yeah, no, I guess we could go to that first. AL, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Mr. X, great to see you at Bell County Comic Con as well. So yeah, if you're just tuning in here, and I think almost everybody here is into Soul Finder enough to own the books. But if you have not purchased the soft cover yet, then maybe consider that. Although the hardcover campaign is right around the corner, I have the hardcover books. They are in. And unfortunately, I was supposed to get a stash that would be sent out to my place out here in Reno, and they were all sent to Texas by accident. So that's fine or whatever, but I was like, nuts. I wanted to have a stash that I have for various purposes. Anyway, I'm debating what I want to do here, whether I want to do Kickstarter, whether I want to just go straight to Iconic with the hardcovers and all of that, and the St. Michael rosaries, which I have in. I got to look at my finances. I am going to get a massive bill in the very near future for the hardcovers. And so once that invoice comes in and I look at it, and then I look at my finances and where everything's at, I'll be like, all right, I still got to make sure I pay Matt. So what do I want to do with this? Do I have enough to do what I want to do for volume 5? Or maybe I have enough, but I still want to just see what's up with Kickstarter this time. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, things are coming along nicely there. Boom. St. Michael rosaries are in literally at my house. And I got 3 boxes of those. So those will be out there. At Bell County Comic Con, I had people buying multiple rosaries at once. One guy bought 3 of them. I had a homeschool mom, and she was buying stuff. I had other people that just came by, and they're like, I don't even know anything about Soul Finder, but the rosary caught my eye, and tell me what it's about. So then I was able to sell a rosary. Then I was able to sell the books. So very cool. And then the interesting thing now about doing these shows is that there will be people that will come up to the booth and they have not heard anything about it whatsoever. And they're just like, once, I'll give them my like pitch or whatever you want to call it. Thanks, John Luke says Tunnel Hounds looks beautiful. Rodrigo Aviles did the cover, the soft cover. I also have the Dave Dorman variant for the hardcover, so that'll be coming out as well. But anyway, so people that have no clue whatsoever about it, they'll hear it. And now I have Demon's Match, Black Tide, Infinite Ascents, Tunnel Hounds. I had Noctis at the show, so that'll be out too. And then Warcry. And then they'll be like, some people will be like, all right, just give me everything. And they'll literally buy all the books. And then sometimes they'll buy all the books, plus they'll buy like a hardcover or 2, they'll get all the soft covers, but then maybe they'll get a hardcover, or they'll get all the books. And then maybe they'll get a pin designed by Timothy Lim, a Soul Finder unit patch pin. and then they might get a rosary or something like that. So as time goes on and I'm putting out more and more and more, literally every time there's somebody new, there is an opportunity to sell everything in one fell swoop. Whoop! And then if they like it, then they'll keep going. So yeah, so it's going pretty well. Let's see. Like I said, I'm bouncing all over the place. Captain Cummings says bills are my favorite. Yeah, so the invoice for the hardcover, it's got to come eventually. It will be here, and I mean, I'm ready to pay it, but and I know what it's gonna. It's not like it's gonna be a surprise. It's just, it's one of those things where you're looking at all your finances, and then if I get royalty or quarterly payment from Iconic for books and all that merchandise sold, I'll figure it all out. We'll see. Mr. X was also good to let folks know Noctis debuted at the con, so folks don't miss out on that. Yeah, no, I mean, that one's just a super short story, but so far the people that have read it got back to me, and people that have shared it online, they're really happy with the short story. And I know Solid Halon liked it quite a bit. And I forgot who else it was. I apologize if you're listening or you end up listening after this is already recorded. Was very happy with both the writing and the team up with Eric Canetti. So that was cool. So hopefully down the line, Eric and I will be able to work together on more stuff. That would be cool. So yeah, boom. All right. So let's see. Should I just go to straight up Grok? Should we do that? So that was pretty fun. Where is it? Uh-oh. All right. So yeah, let's do Grok. Let's see what Grok has to say about Iconic Comics. All right. Let's see. Brett, I have to get my signed hardcovers. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what I was talking about. So I got to fly to the East Coast most likely in the very near future. And then I was wondering if I should either on the way there or back stop down in Texas, go to Iconic, start signing hardcovers, maybe see if I can meet up with Matt Weldon and maybe Bill Williams or something like that for a couple days. So it's like all this, so I have a flight ticket that I got to buy to the East Coast. Just bought a flight to Montana with my wife the other day. So my wife and I will be in Montana in October for a while, and we got stuff that we got to do. So there's always new expenses. So Brett, I will get signed hardcovers one of these days. All right, so here's what AI said about Iconic Comics. Iconic Comics, the indie darlings of the comic world, where every issue feels like a love letter from creators who've probably spent more time in their garages than in the limelight of comic conventions. So that's right off the bat. That's kind of interesting that they're like, okay, these guys are not part of the mainstream. They're not part of Marvel, DC. They're not part of the cool kids in crowd, did their time in New York City and all of that sort of stuff. They're like the garage band. He's like whatever, punk guys or something along those lines. Eric, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. I was just talking about you and your excellent work on Noctis Terrari and obviously Arc Athena as well. I did not get a chance to say that volumes 5 and 6 are on the way in the somewhat near future. So, yeah, if you like Arc Athena, be on the lookout for updates from Eric. I know on Twitter he sometimes shares colored pages and stuff like that. All right, so Grok says the current scene, Iconic Comics, with its roots in Texas, has been making waves with their unique blend of storytelling, often wrapped in a cloak of crowdfunding success. They're like the garage band of comics that suddenly found out they can rock the charts. I was cracking up yesterday because I was like, where is this coming from? Their flagship series, like Common America, isn't just about superheroes. It's about heroes with a side of existential dread, wrapped in a tortilla of American spirit. What? My wife was cracking up at that. She was like, what is going on with this? All right, future prospects from Grok. They've got this thing with Kickstarter where their projects get labeled as Project We Love. It's like getting a gold star in kindergarten, but instead of a star, you get cash to make more comics. This suggests their model of direct to fan funding could keep them thriving as long as they keep the fans loving what they're putting out. Expansion into animation. So again, this is what I was wondering about. I have said for a long time, I cannot wait. Tim and Mark, if they wanted to crowdfund their own anime tomorrow, I believe they would be able to do it if they wanted to go there. But anyway, who knows? There's all sorts of stuff with, branching out into animation, and it's very expensive and all of that. And they're very methodical in how they go about everything. And so who knows? But the expansion in animation has been something that has been on my mind for a long time because, well, one, I'm obviously biased, but I think Iconic Comics has a very cool stable of IPs. And if you're doing comics and you're doing them well and you've got the ball rolling on that and you're like, okay, I'm good with this and I feel like I can keep a certain level of quality, well then logically you're like, what is the next? Where are we going next with this? All right, let's see if we can do animation, but we have to keep the quality. We have to keep raising the bar. It has to be a certain quality. Grok, expansion into animation. There's chatter in the digital winds about comics needing to animate to stay relevant. If Iconic Comics decides to follow this trend, imagine Common America in motion with all its philosophical monologues and action-packed scenes. It could be the next Invincible if they play their cards right, or at least a cult hit that makes you question the very fabric of reality while enjoying some sweet, sweet fight scenes. All right. Let's see. Cultural impact of Iconic Comics according to Grok. They're not just making comics, they're crafting a universe where characters cross over, which could lead to a shared universe event that might just make fans lose their minds in the best way possible. Think of it as the comic book equivalent of a Friends reunion, but with more explosions and less coffee. Market dynamics. The comic book market's like a seesaw with big players like DC feeling the squeeze due to market share shifts. They're getting into market share stuffs. I feel like somebody was just interviewing me and Tim and Mark and Eric and Scott and Bryce and Sven and Matt and Bill and Alejandro and everybody has been associated with Iconic, and they're like somehow, some way coming up with like things that have been mulled over and talked about and ruminated about and all sorts of stuff. Very interesting. Let's see. Iconic Comics with its niche but dedicated fan base might just find more room to grow. They're not trying to be the next Marvel. Where are they getting this stuff? It's like, you get it, Grok. They're aiming to be the best Iconic Comics. Man, this is so good, Grok. Which in this day and age might just be the smarter play. It is the smarter play, Grok. You get it, man. Elon, whoever is doing the algorithms for this sort of stuff, very interesting. Jean-Luc says, Grok sounds a little over the top. Yeah, no, this is the fun. There's two ways you can do Grok, I guess. I haven't done it like both, but there's fun mode where he's like kind of like making jokety jokes. But then there's like the serious mode. So I suppose if like, professors or just people that just don't want all this other stuff in there, they could. I have it on fun mode. So that's where that is. Innovation or bust. They've got to keep innovating. Very true. Not just in storytelling, but in how they reach their audience. If they can tap into the nostalgia while pushing forward with new media like webcomics, which is exactly what Tim and Mark are doing, or VR experiences, which is exactly what Tim and Mark are doing, and I think Sven on some level, they might just redefine what it means to be a comic book publisher in the 21st century. Dude, very interesting. It gets that Iconic is not trying. I don't really give a rip. Like I do, but I don't. Like what Marvel and DC are doing and blah 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 blah. Like whatever. It's like, I still will keep little tabs here and there on the Amazing Spider-Man just to see what's up. And I'll obviously read my old issues and go back to that. But like, whatever. I don't even care what they're doing. Like, I'm not really paying much attention to them at all these days. I feel like they're basically a lost cause with the people that are working there in terms of leadership and editorial and all of that. And it's just beating a dead horse. I said everything I had to say about Marvel and DC over basically the course of a decade between my blog and early YouTube. And I literally don't have time anymore if I want to do stuff with Iconic Comics and Soul Finder and my friends and all this sort of stuff. Like I literally don't have time to be picking apart everything that Marvel and DC are doing that's like ridiculous and dumb and at cross purposes with the goal of reaching actual readers and growing readership and all. It's like, if they don't want to do it, I just want to focus on what I'm doing and what Iconic's doing, and we'll see where that goes. But very interesting, again, that Grok gets it. So let me see. I asked it about Soul Finder, which was very similar, but then I also asked about Soul Finder readers. And so I was like, all right, it told me about myself. Now let's see what it has to say about Soul Finder readers. And this was interesting too. It says critical acclaim. The Soul Finder series has been praised for its storytelling, with Ernst scripts moving at a pace that keeps readers hooked. Again, I didn't pay Grok. I didn't pay Elon. It's going out amongst Twitter somehow, and it's just like netting. You know, it cast its net out into Twitter, and it pulled everything. That's what I'm assuming what's going on. And it's looking at everything. It's looking at what the people are saying about it, and it's coming up with whatever. All right, it's not just about the fights. It's true. That's true. It's about the characters' journeys, their faith, and how they reconcile their past military lives with their new roles as spiritual warriors. Again, scaring me a little bit there. Cultural impact. While not mainstream like the big two, Marvel and DC, Soul Finder has carved out a niche, especially among those looking for stories with a bit more, well, soul. Ernst's work has been noted for bringing a unique blend of military precision and spiritual depth to the comic book medium. So I think where it got that was there was at least one guy in particular who was talking about how the weapons that you see in Soul Finder are real weapons. They're drawn very well by Matt Weldon. And he was able to learn about what he was doing wrong at the range by looking at the weapons in Soul Finder. So I don't know for sure, but I'm like, I feel like Grok must have run across that post or something along those lines. Let's see, public persona. From what you can gather from his online presence, Ernst is a guy who's deeply involved in his community, often seen at comic shows, engaging with fans, I'm doing that right now, and discussing not just his work, but the broader comic book industry. Oh, you know me so well, Grok. His ex-posts, or whatever they're calling them now, reflect a man who's passionate about his craft, guilty as charged, and the intersection of comics with real-world issues. What the heck? All right. So, oh wait, this was on me. Sorry about that. But, well, we'll go to the readers soon. So in the grand tapestry of comic book creators, Doug Ernst stands out as someone who's not just telling stories, but exploring the human spirit through the lens of the supernatural, all while keeping his feet firmly planted in the real world. His work with Iconic Comics might not be on every comic fan's radar, but for those who dive in, it's a journey worth taking. I feel like I owe Elon Musk some money or something for hiring someone to, again, be my PR guy. All right, here's what I wanted to read. This was on Soul Finder readers. Let's see, Jean-Luc, I remember the man who posted about the weapons. Yeah, he's not on Twitter too much these days. He's moved over to Instagram. I can't remember. And actually, I was on his on a live stream at some point in time, but I always forget people's handles and you can't say people's real names and all that sort of stuff. So Let's see. Grok over at the top. Be the best you. Neo Star, thanks for tuning in. As much as I dislike what's been going on with mainstream comics, I feel the best course of action now is to build and develop your own stories IP while people are starving for entertainment. Yep. Neo Star, put something out there, see what works and what doesn't, get a feel for your strengths and weaknesses and work from there. Definitely agree, says be right back. All right. Let's see, Mr. X, one day we'll get a full-on animation. I can see it happening, and the demand is certainly there. Yeah, I mean, if Tim and Mark, if Common America and Black Ops and all that keeps growing in Japan, I mean, I feel like that's the trajectory that everything is on. Because you, actually, I could go back to that. Well, we'll get to Tim and Mark in Japan in a second. All right, so this is Grok's take on Soul Finder readers like yourself. Jean-Luc, Neo Star, Captain Cummings, Mr. X, Brett Palmer, AL, Crusader Rising. Oh, thanks for tuning in, man. Says, yes, excited for the hardcover version. That will be out soon. Tagia, thanks for tuning in. Didn't see you there. Hey, Doug, it was good to see you at the con. My Ghostbusters suit was hot though. Oh, all right. I can definitely bring up. I have the pictures in my feed of you and your Ghostbusters Soul Finder mashup. So that was very, very cool. Appreciate it. All right, Tagia. This is what Grok says about you. It says you're on the quest for depth over flash. These readers, much like explorers in a narrative universe, crave depth. They're not just looking for the next big explosion or the latest superhero costume redesign. They're after the soul of the story. Soul Finder taps into this by focusing on character development, moral dilemmas, and the spiritual warfare that's more about internal battles than external ones. It's like they're saying, show us the recipe, not just the cake. Again, over the top, but very accurate. Soul Finder readers, the mythological connection. Let's see. There's a shared love for stories that resonate with ancient myths or modern fairy tales. Yada yada yada. Appreciation for craft. These fans are like wine connoisseurs. Now, that could be a negative, and if people that don't like Soul Finder could be like, no, they're so snobby. And I have been accused by people that don't like me of being elitist. I don't think that's the case. I mean, I've worked plenty of quote unquote blue collar jobs in my lifetime. I put myself through college. I went to a community college before transferring to the University of Southern California, was a mechanized infantryman, worked the overnight shift at Target, stocking shelves, worked at a vegetable stand on the side of the highway, lifting bags of corn all day and dumping bags of corn onto the table and all sorts of stuff like that. So, but anyway, so yeah, the critics might be like, oh. Anyway, the fans are like wine connoisseurs in the vineyard of comics. They appreciate the craftsmanship from the art to the narrative structure. Iconic comics with its focus on original stories and art caters to this crowd. Again, this is true. They're not just readers, they're analysts, critics, and lovers of the medium's art form. They see through the lens of how was this made rather than just what's happening. So I love this in that it's getting you guys so well. So the thing with Soul Finder readers, and we'll say iconic comic readers at large, is that we want to hear your feedback. And as I was saying yesterday, Soul Finder readers are very articulate, and they can explain exactly why they like it. They can explain exactly why it resonates with them. And when a reader does that, it convinces other people to go out and buy it. So if I just had readers that they were just mindlessly consuming, like, yum, 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 yum. Oh, priest man, he know like the demons. Boop, 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 boop. If that's all it was, and I mean, I'd be happy if somebody was reading it, and if that's all they got out of it, but they enjoyed it, whatever, that's fine. But that's not going to help me get the word out. I need people like Jean-Luc, like Neostar, like Mr. X, like all these people, like Brett, like Captain Cummings, like everybody who's like listening right now, who can go out and say, this is why I like this, X, Y, and Z. Let me break it down for you, brother. This is why Soul Finder rocks. And you guys have done that for years, and that's why the momentum keeps building for Iconic Comics as a whole. All right. The desire for timelessness. This was a very good one as well. There's a yearning for stories that could be told at any time, in any era, yet feel fresh. Soul Finder and similar works aim for this timeless quality where the narrative's themes transcend current events or trends. This approach makes readers feel like they're part of a tradition, not a trend. So, again, Grok, you're totally getting it. I love it because I grew up, and when I went to college and my entire life, I loved the classics. There's a reason why the classics are called classic. There's a reason why they've held up over the course of many years, decades and decades, and even hundreds of years, at times. So that is what I draw from, is trying to write stories that somebody 50 years from now, they can read them and they're not just like, oh, I don't even understand this because it's all a bunch of like contemporary jokes at the time, and he's just trying to like get a rise over the audience in 2024 about whatever, some politician that I don't even know about anymore, or some weird gripe that is completely irrelevant to my life that I know nothing about. So it's getting it that I'm trying to tap into universal ideas, universal questions, issues about virtue that are going to be around for hundreds and thousands of years. So very cool. Engagement over consumption. Modern media consumption often feels like a race to the next plot point. However, these readers, these Soul Finder readers, engage with the stories. So good. They want to live in the world, understand its rules, and maybe even imagine their own stories within it. This is why Soul Finder resonates. It's not just about the plot, but about the world it creates, inviting readers to explore beyond the page. So, human elements. At its core, Soul Finder and similar works celebrate humanity's potential. Very good. Its struggles and its victories. Readers who share these stories are often looking for reflections of what it means to be human, not just in action, but in thought, in soul. They're intuitive because they seek stories that mirror the complexities of life, not just its surface. Grok's talking about you guys. So thank you, because that's what I was after when I created the series years ago. It's surreal and sort of mind-bending to see AI kind of like distill my own ideas about my own work onto the page in a way that is obviously jokety jokeville, but also serious at the same time. Very interesting. So in the grand tapestry of storytelling, Soul Finder readers and Iconic Comics enthusiasts are like those who prefer the journey over the destination, the process over the product. They're the ones who, in a universe full of noise, listen for the heartbeat of the story. And in doing so, they remind us all why we tell stories in the first place: to understand, to feel, to connect. Oh man, Grok, I love you, man. At least for the past 24 hours here. But so that was very interesting to see how Grok analyzed me, Tim, Iconic Comics as a whole, everybody. Very, very interesting. So, and here's the thing. It was probably pulling from stuff like this too yesterday. This was my take. This is, my take on my own series was this. People often say they love comics because they're modern equivalents of Greek mythological figures. while I enjoy superheroes, I'm trying to do something different with Soul Finder. I want to tell stories where men and women live up to their full potential as human beings. Wouldn't men who try to maximize their physical, intellectual, and spiritual potential often be capable of feats that others would consider superhero worthy? I want readers to experience these stories and understand the immensity of untapped strength and endurance within them. I want people to grasp that real heroes are people just like them, just like you, who are ready when the moment calls for an onslaught of virtue. So that's kind of my thing with Soul Finder is all these are regular dudes. These are soldiers. They're priests. They come from different backgrounds. Specialist cook here or whatnot. And I wanted to create a series where what if men who are basically trying to be physically fit as possible, they're intellectually appropriately curious, and they read really good books, the right books, and also they worked just as hard at developing themselves spiritually, but then they were placed in a situation where that's exactly what was needed, and most people would fail in those situations. But those who succeeded, if you were an outside observer, you might think that guy is a superhero. He might as well. He's a de facto superhero to the outside observer. How did he survive that? Is he Captain America? Is he Batman? Who is it? Sort of like almost like an Indiana Jones sort of situation, but more so than that. And so I wanted readers to basically see themselves in the characters and be like, on some level, that literally I could be in a similar situation. Obviously, you're not going to be able to see a giant scorpion, coming down on you or whatever, because most people are not going to be able to see beyond the veil and see demons and all that sort of stuff. But in many respects, you could be like, no, I would be able to do that. But I would need to develop myself intellectually, physically, spiritually in order to do that. And maybe one day down the road, there's going to be a situation. Maybe my daughter's in trouble. Maybe my son's in trouble. Maybe my wife's in trouble or whatever. And I need to be there. I need to be a virtuous man. If I am not tending to my virtue garden right now and growing all of the virtue trees, I won't have the virtue fruit that I need when the time comes. And anyway, so that's my take on Soul Finder. And I can't joke around about it as much as Grok did. But like I said, very interesting that Grok gets it. And speaking of people that get it, here's what I was talking about. Here's Kevin here, Soul Finder reader, like many of you. He says, Doug Ernst, Bill Williams, Matt Weldon, Dave Dorman, Iconic Comics. A fourth time Doug captures conniving evil's truth and the beauty of having faith the size of a mustard seed. The greatest depiction of good and evil's tussle is that by Father Lamb's faith and authority, he proves evil's self-defeating nature. Via Matt's art and Rodrigo's colors, Doug looks at Father Crane's journey, fighting evil on earth under Old Glory to crushing evil within the soul under the cross. Great appearance of a young Father Blatty and could be Soul Finder 78, Volume 5 next. Again, this is the kind of stuff, this is what gets people to buy the books, because I can tell you all day. I mean, ideally, I would be able to pitch my own book and sell my own book and get people to buy it. And I think I've done a fairly good job of that. I could always do better. But again, people know, hey, he's biased or whatever. So, on some level, their guard's always up a little bit. And you're like, all right, is this guy telling me the truth? Is he lying to me? Is he trying to swindle me somehow? Is he a little con man? Over time, you get a reputation where it's like, nah, dude, when he says he's got a book ready for you, he's got a book ready. He says he's got a hardcover ready, he's got a hardcover ready. If he says that it's solid, it's not gonna be for everybody, but overall, it's gonna be solid. And the art you can see is solid or whatever. Anyway, a Kevin out there, or an AL or a Neostar, or all these people, this helps because they're like, oh, he's just some guy named Kevin. I could go to his feed and doesn't look like it looks like he has a job somewhere. He does whatever the heck he does, blah, 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 blah. But he also seems to like Soul Finder, and this is his take on it. Oh, he must be a Catholic guy. He got the rosary, the memento. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, let me check this out. Bam. So thank you. I can't thank you guys enough for that sort of stuff. And speaking about that, boop. All right, so this is what I was talking. This is one of those I got to be careful subjects. But I was noticing this lately. I was noticing this in my feed, and it's one of those things where it's like, how do I say it? I don't know how to quite put it into words yet, but it seems like there has been a seismic shift in the indie comics landscape in 2024. I think about where I was and what things were like in 2017, and it's hard not to think about the ebbs and flows and different philosophies crashing against one another in the waves. This year feels to me like one where readers are asserting themselves more and demanding excellence from creators and companies. Those who thrive under pressure, those who want to be tested, are being rewarded. So yeah, I believe that is true. And there has been this sort of like, I don't know, like a two-way street where people are getting, that, I mean, it's two Texas-based companies. It's Iconic Comics and, Eric July's Rippaverse. And they can see that, okay, these are two companies that when they promise you books, you're going to get your books. When they tell you you're going to get your books on this date, you know you're going to get your books on this date. And they keep doing it over and over again. And they're able to do it on a scale where it's like, oh, not only are they like, it's not like they're shipping like 10 books to somebody somewhere. They're actually shipping hundreds or even thousands of books at times, and merchandise when you add in, rosaries and pins and all of that, and action, toys and sculptures and all sorts of stuff. And they're able to do that again and again and again. And there's a certain level of professionalism that's going on here that, how do I say this? In 2017, when I first started on YouTube and going forward, there were all sorts of debates about how best to go about growing a company, getting indie books out to people, gaining traction with your own IP, fulfillment, distribution, all of these sorts of things. And I feel like you can see, like I said, the ebbs and flows and the heres and the theres of people, different philosophies on these sorts of things are crashing against each other, and people are arguing and people are fighting. And I feel like at some point in time, Iconic Comics and on another level, Rippaverse, in terms of getting these books out to people. And sometimes people, how do I say this? Whether you like Iconic Comics, the actual stories or not, whether you like Eric's stories or not, the fact is that there are people that like them. There are people that enjoy them. And a lot of times it overlaps. And Iconic and Rippaverse are both catering to the people that enjoy their books in a way that keeps the boat moving forward. It keeps the boat from capsizing. It goes into port, and there's more people that they get on the boats to go other places on creative journeys with them or whatever, all this sort of stuff. And so it's been very interesting to me over the years to see maybe people that had different philosophies years ago suddenly come around and be like, I think these guys are onto something. I didn't agree with them at first, but I have to, even if it's like begrudgingly or quietly. I'm not gonna come out and say, I'll be like, all right, I will follow you now. Okay, now I will retweet you Now I will give you attaboys, whereas maybe years ago it was just like, I hate your guts. And it's like it's different these days. So very interesting. All right. Oh, what was I gonna say? Tim and Mark. Here we go. The Filipino nerd here. He says, it never ceases to astound how this very American series and the people behind it have managed to not only be successful despite the mainstream comics establishment, but also foster a fandom in Japan. Given its origins, no small feat. So, again, Tim and Mark, you look, this is the largest convention in the world, if I'm not mistaken, in Japan. And they have the readers that just like Common America. They put together their own sort of fan magazine and all this sort of stuff. And they share pictures. Go to Tim's feed, go to Mark's feeds, go to the Iconic Comics feed, and all of this. And you will see it is just wave after wave after wave of all these Japanese readers that are sharing the books, doing fan art, all sorts of stuff. Cosplayers, you got these women, they're their own Common Core and all of this. And it's kind of crazy, but inspirational at the same time. Miss Martin, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. It says, happy solemnity of the Assumption. Went to Mass at 7 o'clock this morning. I was up at 5:45. My body knew I had to get up. It was either 7 o'clock or 12 o'clock, or I guess maybe there's something at like 4:30. I don't know. But I don't want to go to like 4:30. Wasn't a big fan of going at noon, so I was like, I'm going at 7 o'clock. Went to Mass today at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I headed on over to Panera. Anyway, so yeah, check out Tim's feed, check out Mark's feed, and it is crazy to see all the people that cosplay as their characters and spread the word, and they're super excited, and very, very cool, very interesting. Here's another picture. So yeah, they literally just do this magazine and have all sorts of like other merchandise for sale and all sorts of stuff. It's very cool to see them expand out into Japan. And as Mark has said, here we go. Let me like this. Boop. We owe so much to our Japanese readers for helping our books find a following overseas. As outsiders, our efforts can only take us so far in unfamiliar markets. They do to share Common America strictly because they like it. It's almost too much to process. So yeah, sometimes I know people have asked Mark and Tim and me in a roundabout way, even though that obviously the Japanese readers overwhelmingly care about Common America. I sometimes get readers who read about the crossover or find out about Father Redder, and then they like check it out or whatever. So it trickles down to me. But overwhelmingly, for whatever reason, Common America super resonates in Japan with these people. They really like it. Also helps that it's translated well. And sometimes people are like, well, how did they do that? How did they pull it off? Like there's like a secret. Like if you just say the magic word, you'll have a Japanese audience. And you're like, no, dude, like as Mark was saying, like you don't pick them, they basically pick you. You don't really have a whole lot of control over it other than do the best that you can. And then if they like it, if they like you, that's great. And if they don't, well, better luck next time, sort of thing. So yeah, very cool. All right. Boop. Trying to think what else I got here. Got Eric Canetti with Spidey. Is there anything else that I missed that I did not talk about? Let's see. Anybody in the chat? Let's see. I live up in New England and have lived and worked with legitimate snobs. You certainly aren't one of them, Doug. Oh, that was going back to the wine connoisseurs of Iconic Comics and Soul Finder, and the allegation that I am an elitist. And I don't. How do I say this? I can see where somebody would say that, and they would say it knowing that they could get a certain amount of traction with it. Because it's not like I do. I am an educate. Like I've gone to college. I've gotten my master's degree. I do like good foods and things like that. But I started out eating MREs in the field in Germany. I started eating MREs, sometimes French. I think they were French MREs. They're actually like really good for an MRE or like whatever, like a field food in Macedonia and things like that. So I started out working overnight shifts at Target and liking very much when I got to do the toy aisle around Christmas time with the He-Man figures. Actually, He-Man figures in a show that Eric Canetti actually worked on. Talk about like surreal and how the world is everything. I don't know. Again, the ebbs and flows and the ocean currents of time and space mixing. Where I was stocking toys, He-Man toys, and actually buying He-Man toys back in the day, because when those came out, they were so cool. And so I would get those. I would usually go to Toys R Us back in the day. Yeah, I got the He-Man figures. Anyway, but then years later, working with somebody like Eric Canetti on Noctis Terrari, being able to like talk comics with him, talk about Iconic and all this sort of stuff. It's a small world, very small world. Neostar. Really hope Reiserman will resonate with more people after this story. You never know, man. Just keep at it. Keep doing your thing. Keep refining the process. Keep revising the books and doing whatever, and who knows what'll happen. So let's see. Neostar. I'll admit I normally prefer more overt action when it comes to supernatural horror stories, but Soulfinder has a deep exploration into the supernatural and psychological that I cannot resist. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Not to mention, some of the settings feel straight out of a pulp adventure serial. I'm always eager to see where Father Redder and the gang go next. Thanks, man. Well, next year will be underwater, and it'll be the original hunt for William Nebel in the 1980s during the Cold War, and it is a story that features a young Father Crane and a young Soulfinder 78. We haven't not really revealed Soulfinder 78 too much up until now. There was like one panel in Infinite Ascent where Father Crane pulls out a Polaroid out of his pocket, and it's a picture of himself in Soulfinder 78 after the demon Pock was messing with him and trying to guilt him. So it was alluded to that something bad happened to Soulfinder 78. So maybe, just maybe, but probably, you will get to see what happened with Soulfinder 78. The sad and tragic story of Soulfinder 78. But I try to, all my stories, there's usually some sort of, it ends on a hopeful note, but there's a lot of bittersweetness to it. So we'll see how that goes. Similarly, if you remember Soulfinder Black Tide, there's a couple panels that show Father Crane as a young man, as a young Soulfinder at a pier. And this is when they're going over the mission and his military past and his DD-214 and all this sort of stuff. There's a couple panels you will see next year. What the one or two panels that were in Black Tide, you will see that entire scene. So it's all tied together. So anyways, before we wrap it up here, let's see. If you haven't had a chance, go to Romancer X's YouTube channel, and he has the Bell County Comic Con 2024 iconic panel with Tim, Sven, Bryce, Scott, and me. And it's multiple parts. Check it out. It's pretty fun. And thank goodness I was working out this year because in years past I was looking a little soft, but this year my back actually cooperated with me, and I was able to get in push-up shape because you don't want to go to a panel and be the guy sitting on the edge of the table and you weigh 350 pounds or something like that. So yeah, although Solid Halon, who was there, he's been hitting the gym. And I know that he was trying to get into Father Redder shape. Maybe not Father Redder because of that, but that was the practical effect. Is I saw him at the gym all the time. He was working out. And I was like, what if Solid Halon wants to see if the guy who writes Soul Finder could actually do push-ups? What if could Doug actually be a Soul Finder as a 45-year-old man? Well, so that motivated me to be like, I got to get in push-up shape too. Anyway, so my goal is next year to be in better shape for the 2025 Bell County Comic Con panel. So anyway, check out that if you get a chance. And what else we got to say? Let's see. Solid certainly lives up to his name, but he does not skip a day. Yeah, he's always in the gym. I see him posting on Twitter, and he's posting on Instagram and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, I'm going to close it out here. We've been talking for about an hour, unless there's any other final questions that I missed in the chat. And Jean-Luc, thanks for tuning again. Eric, Neostar, Captain Cummins, Crusader, Tagia, Mr. X. Oh, Tagia. I said I was going to show, where is it here? Let's see. Let's go. Tagia. The Soul Finder Ghostbusters mashup. Let's see if we can find it. I got to go back in time here. I want to thank you for showing up once again and even upgrading your outfit to make it even more Soul Findery. Let's see. There's Bell County Comic Con. Thanks again to everybody. Nerd Wonder and everybody else who tuned in. Rob, all right, Mr. X, and Solid Halon, and all you guys. There's the Iconic Comics mobile. Looking good. Mark took a little picture of me. They wanted me to do the Father Redder pose right there. So again, this would have been an absolute disaster if I wasn't exercising this. Imagine if I was like 350 pounds trying to do the Redder pose. That would have been not so good. Let's see. Where is Tagia? Thanks, Matt, for coming in as well. Mr. Mills, Patrick, thanks again. All right. Oh, here we go. There we go. Bam. All right. So there is the Ghostbusters Soul Finder mashup, and he's even got the old unit patch there. It's the pin unit. I will get a patch down the line. You got Tim's, the Cairo. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I should probably know. I'm sorry. But the Cairo symbol Christ there, that's on Father Lamb's outfit as well. And there's me with my tired eyes that I got from my mom. It always looks like I'm falling asleep, even if I'm awake. I look like Droopy there, man. And as I get older, I look like I'm getting real sleepy. I promise I wasn't sleepy there at all. But anyway, let's see. Matt, is Matt here? I see someone said Matt. Neostar says Matt. Matt was not at Bell County Comic Con this year, but maybe one day I know he said that he wants to go, but that would be pretty cool. Yeah, we had a really fun time. Let's see. Can you see Sven back there? Sven was somewhere back there. I don't know. Then Tim's booth was right next to us. Had a great time. So yeah. AL says, looks like you had fun. Yeah, we had a great time. Let's see. Mr. X says, looks like we bumped into each other without realizing it. So let's see. Neostar, can't wait to show him my gains when we finally meet. Yeah, now make sure you get that protein and keep hitting the gym. So, all right, I think that's it. All right, did I miss anybody else? There's another one with Rob. Got a nice little picture with everybody. And that was pretty cool after the panel. That was cool. I've been doing these comic posts lately. Eric, July, saying Tim is pretty inspired. They're solid. Solid Gains got his St. Benedict medal on there. So, bunch of cool dudes. Appreciate it. Got the Bell County Comic Con billboard out there. So, yeah, like I said, had a really great time. And can't wait to get back. And got more people. And we will get Noctis out there. Next time I will have a print. I had people asking me for a print of this. And I apologize for not doing that. I did volume 4, but I didn't get a print. But I will get prints in the near future of this. And I will get that on the, if I do a campaign, it'll be with the hardcover campaign as well. Thanks again to everybody who's tuning in. I think we hit all the things we needed to hit. I will be back in the somewhat near future. Thanks for spreading the word. Appreciate it. And I'll see you later. See ya.